This 37 practices of a bodhisattva has preliminaries, main practice, and conclusion. When discussing the main practice, it covers the paths of the lesser, middling, and great superior beings. It's about the 3 levels of the path. Among the 7 preliminaries, we are now on the 6th preliminary. Relying on auspicious spiritual friends, relying on true teacher purifies negative karma, increase virtue like the waxing moon. Regard the sublime teacher as more precious than oneself. This is the bodhisattva's practice. Because by relying on a teacher, negative karma purified, virtue grows. So compared to your own body, the teacher is even more precious than my own body. You should be even more respectful, truly considerate, and rely on them even more. If you approach or rely on a virtuous, trusted teacher or friend, then naturally in your mind stream, greed, anger, etc. will be purified. With listening, meditation, all virtues such as compassion and bodhicitta will increase, just like the waxing moon. This is the case. If you rely on a good teacher, your greed, anger, ignorance will gradually disappear. All the virtues of Dharma study and practice will increase. This is very obvious. Everyone should understand this. For such a sublime teacher or spiritual friend, you should cherish them more than your own body and life and rely on them in that way, really. Both in attitude and conduct, you should rely properly and genuinely. This is the practice of all bodhisattvas railing on spiritual teachers. This is also taught in the Avatamsaka Sutra. One should never tire of seeing or relying on the teacher. Whether seeing or relying on a spiritual teacher for years and years, you should never feel wearied. Why? Because it's hard to meet such teachers. It's truly rare for such teachers to appear in the world. It may become even more difficult in the future. That's how I see it, as I said a few days ago. In more recent times, as we have seen, things have changed. Probably around last century, especially in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, there were truly remarkable masters and teachers. We have them worldwide. But now, most have already passed away. Among the younger and middle-aged generation of people, those with qualities, true compassion, bodhicitta, and wisdom, spiritual teachers, are indeed becoming fewer and fewer. So we should often reflect, I arrived in this world at just the right to me, neither too early nor too late. During that period, there were fewer obstacles in all respects. The spiritual teachers were alive. Some had given teachings. Some had given us blessings. So spiritual teachers are indeed rare. They're hard to see. There are many other points made. If you are compassionately cared for by a spiritual teacher, you will not fall into lower realms, nor into the hands of bad friends, nor be harmed by karma and afflictions and so on. There are infinite and boundless merits in this. If you meet a spiritual teacher, good teachers will accept you. What we mean by teacher's care, it doesn't mean having you by their side every day. Many people do not understand what a teacher's care truly means. Master, can you take me with you when you go abroad? Master, when you go out, when you go to see a doctor, can you maybe bring me along? If you don't, you're not caring for me. Then I won't pay attention to you. So some people's words and actions really miss the point. True spiritual care is to give empowerments for maturation and teachings for liberation. That is the real way a teacher cares for you. Other than this, most are just worldly ways of attachment. The true way a spiritual teacher cares for you is by giving you teachings, so you understand listening, contemplation, and practice. That is the teacher's care. So many people really don't understand this nowadays. What does the teacher's care mean? If teacher cares, they take you out to have fun, go on pilgrimages together, spend money together as a group, and go out for delicious late-night snacks together, enjoying each other's company. Then they feel, wow, this teacher really cares about me. This is such great compassion. But if the teacher gives you the most profound teachings, but usually doesn't pay attention to you, people often say, wow, this teacher is really such a bad person. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, care is explained like this. In the Jataka Tales, it says, never leave true teachers. Rely on the Dharma with a gentle mind. Our conduct should rely on the Dharma gently. If you are close to them, you will be influenced by their virtue, even without intentionally trying. If meeting a good If you don't learn from them, you will naturally and imperceptibly be influenced. Over time, you'll gradually take on their unique qualities little by little. We should rely on teachers who are more accomplished than ourselves. In every respect, we should rely on such teachers who surpass us. The chapter on conditions is the Heap of Jewels Sutra. It was first translated as a chapter on conditions. But later, Heap of Jewels Sutra was considered a better title. Rely on Master, attain holy state. Maybe it's rely on the Master. Master refers to a good spiritual teacher. If you rely on the Master, you attain the holy state. Therefore, this line should be 5 characters. I'll adjust this a little bit later. The meaning is, if we rely on a good teacher, we too will attain that result. We should rely on them. The Vinaya says that pure conduct depends on spiritual friends. If your discipline is good from start to finish, seek spiritual teacher, at least for 10 years or even more. Such spiritual friends and peers. Letter to a friend says, perfect conduct is praised by the Buddha. This is mainly achieved by really relying on great teachers. Such spiritual friends are like relying on the Buddha himself. Most attain peace and accomplishment by this. So how does one rely? By relying in 2 ways, motivation and conduct. Of these, motivation relying is divided into faith and remembering kindness. Faith is the precursor and root of all virtue. Faith is very important. If you lack faith in the teacher, then the way you rely, it will not be really very profound. The sutra says, raising faith is like a mother leading the way. Just as a loving mother in the world, faith is the forerunner of all dharma. There are many other scriptural proofs on remembering the teacher's kindness. The Avatamsaka Sutra also says, the teacher saves me from all lower realms. So when we rely on a teacher, in our heart, we must have faith in the teacher, then frequently remember their kindness. This is very important. How do we rely on conduct and practice? As the ornament of sutras says in the scriptures, with respect, offerings and service, practice under the teacher. One is respect and offerings, that is making offerings. There is also service and of course practice. These are what we call the 3 joys. The highest is offering your practice. The middling is serving. The lowest is giving material things. So if your offering is just money, that is in fact the lowest and least effective way to rely on a teacher. But now things seem reversed. Disciples think material offerings are the best, and teachers also regard those who give more, consider him as the best disciples. Some who practice well are even ignored. If you simply give more material offerings, wow, this is without a doubt a truly qualified disciple. So now, isn't this a bit backwards? We must truly rely on the teacher with all 3 joys. Bodhikaryavattara says, even at the cost of your life, do not abandon the Mahayana meaning. Abide in pure discipline and value precious spiritual friends. There should be a period here. The next is a separate sentence. What kind of spiritual teacher should we rely on in our lives? Even in the face of truly life-threatening danger, never ever abandon them. Someone who is well versed in Mahayana and possesses pure discipline with excellent conduct, such a spiritual teacher. Also, it is stated in the Bodhikaryavattara, one should serve the teacher as the illustrious son did, following the rules of attending the master. They should be separate. These are not one phrase. Maybe the first one is one line and the second one is another. It's better if the quotation marks are separated. Teacher, a period here is more appropriate. If you rely on your teacher properly, all your negative karma will be purified and all your virtues will increase, bringing inconceivable benefit. On the other hand, it is important to note that there are faults in not. If we fail to rely properly on our teacher, there are many disadvantages. Also, Lord Atisha instructed all Dharma friends, before attaining enlightenment, you need a spiritual teacher. So before reaching enlightenment, some might think, I've relied on teachers for years, now I don't need to anymore. But for a true dedicated practitioner, lifelong reliance, even many lives, is very important. Till you reach enlightenment, must rely on a teacher. But many seem to think they've attained enlightenment and don't need a teacher now. Therefore, you must rely on an excellent spiritual teacher. All Mahayana virtues, great and small, are all dependent on your teacher. Once a person loudly shouted, "Atisha, please give me the secret instructions." This person was indeed very forceful. The master simply smiled and said, "Hey, my hearing is honestly just fine. The secret instruction is faith. Faith, indeed. It has always been like this. Truly, always. Before Lord Atisha, some people were rude. Hey, just call him, Atisha directly. In the rules for disciples, it's improper to call someone by name directly. He firmly insisted, "Give me the pith instructions now," in a rather harsh manner. Atisha didn't say much either. He replied, "The key point is faith." Maybe he was just too loud. So Atisha said, "My ears are fine." Indeed, some people are disrespectful. We really need to always be mindful of our conduct. If you lack faith, no matter if you receive the Dzogchen or Madhyamaka teachings, none of it will be effective. Some people treat their teacher like their own family member or friend. In Tibet, there is an expression, didn't I mention? If you regard your teacher as an ordinary person, then you might as well attempt to seek siddhi, spiritual powers, from a dog. That is to say, simply, if you see your teacher as an ordinary person, then there's simply no way to receive blessings. Even if your teacher lacks all the proper qualities, if you show respect, you will still receive a certain amount of blessings. It's like an old woman making offerings to a dog's tooth. So generally speaking, having respect is absolutely essential and extremely important in our daily lives. If you lack respect, some Buddhists' daily behavior in their everyday lives seems to be getting less and less gentle. Whether it's the way they walk, their views, or the way they speak, not just in front of the teacher or Dharma friends, but even ordinary people can see it. I see this often myself. Observing how someone walks, for example, after taking 7 steps, you can basically tell what kind of mindset this person has. If they are respectful and gentle, then their way of walking is completely different. It's the same when someone speaks. Although there are simply regional differences, like in certain places, people speak very loudly, but usually from the way someone speaks, you can also see what kind of faith a person has. The great masters of the past, indeed, great importance was placed on this. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok also say, it is in one of the teachings that I have translated, actually, that the Dharma King said, people to him in the Sirtar area, there are 3 ways people address him. Some people directly say Jigpan because it's an abbreviation of Jigme Phuntsok's name, Jigpun. Some people say Jigme Phuntsok. Some people say Guru Rinpoche. The Dharma King said, of course, it doesn't matter to me. You can call me any of these. But if you just say Jinpeng directly, it's likely that in their mind stream, they hold a rather low opinion of him. If they say Kenpo Jigme Phuntsok, then that's a middling view. Many of us, perhaps scholars, these are called Kenpo Jigme Pansok. But for the Dharma King's disciples, they say His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, the wish-fulfilling jewel. In this way, he is like a wish-fulfilling jewel. They also gain some merit within their own mind stream. Later on, we also observe that indeed those who were very respectful to the teacher at that time, even if they were not very wise or diligent, their Dharma activities to benefit sentient beings remained extensive. And they also lived for a long time. Perhaps Guru Rinpoche truly was a remarkable being who manifested in this world. As a truly great worldly figure, those who slandered him, addressed him by name, later, in a very short time, faced problems. Perhaps it's just my personal view, but privately, some fellow disciples of the teacher, some of the master's fellow disciples often say among themselves, "Oh, that person was especially disrespectful, and look what happened to them later." As for those who were very respectful to the teacher, even during the process, their wisdom didn't seem great. But later, their Dharma activity became truly vast. There are all sorts of such examples. So here, when we rely on a spiritual teacher, the method of reliance is indeed very important, whether before a teacher or a disciple, or in front of a Kenpo or Kenmo. In the past, among our nuns, some were very disrespectful toward the Kenmo. A few individuals, wherever they went to any Kenmo's class, would make the Kenmo truly extremely miserable. Later, many people became afraid of these individuals because she was always causing trouble. One issue today, issue tomorrow. Every day she would find something to make a fuss about. In the end, everyone became somewhat afraid of her. Perhaps this was her own karma manifesting. But when such karma manifests, one should confess, repent. Even if you have only received 4 lines of Dharma kindness, we should always rely with genuine respect for others. When I first started out on this journey, I personally studied the commentary on the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva. It was very helpful to me because I translated it quite early on. Many reasons. It was never ultimately published as a book. When I first came here in 1985, His Holiness gave empowerments. At that time, those of us from Duomong Monastery were in the Mani Jewel area. That's the place where I live now. It's the home I currently reside in. We lived in a large tent and attended Dharma assemblies during the day. At that time, Khenpo Lashe taught me and another person who has since passed away, a Lama named Doang from Luho. He gave the two of us the transmission of the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva. Later, I found this commentary. I thought the commentary was great. It contains many precious teachings. Since that time, any teacher from whom I received the kindness of the Dharma, I tried my best to respect. Sometimes if my afflictions were deep, it was indeed difficult. But generally, I also spent a long time together with my teachers often. In the preface of Recollection of the Time Gone By, mentioned briefly. But then I realized I went to more places, which I didn't write about in that book. But during that process, respect for Dharma friends and teachers was something I always paid close attention to. Because Master Yingguang, Lord Atisha, and many other great masters all said that our realization comes from respect. Patrul Rinpoche said, with supreme respect comes supreme siddhi and accomplishment. Middling respect, middling results. Less respect, less results. If you have no respect or faith at all, you get nothing. When relying on a spiritual teacher, if you gain no merit or siddhi at all, there's no point in being there every day. It's better to stay far away. That's truly better. It's just exhausting and pointless. Teachers feel the same. But in the process of relying on a teacher, respect is important. Of course, respect really shouldn't be excessive. There's no need to be bowing everywhere you go. I was just doing calisthenics, some simple exercises to stay active, or like practicing exercise. Nowadays, many people in yoga are always bowing down like this, but that's not necessary. If it's too forced or fake, there's no need for such respect either. But if it's truly heartfelt, it will naturally show outwardly. I think this kind of respect is still very important, especially in our daily lives. That's why Lord Atisha said, faith. He didn't give him instructions, but let him develop faith first. Then he gave instructions. My hearing is fine. You should cultivate faith. Without faith, how can you receive any secret instructions? So from this account, I can see the person's character directly from the words, shouting loudly, Atisha, give me the pith instructions. I think that's not really appropriate, especially in this situation. Geshe Dromtunpa asked Lord Atisha, does your pure conduct depend on companions? Lord Atisha replied, pure conduct entirely depends on companions. Dromtunpa said, Atisha, do you need spiritual friends? If so, of course I do. But when Atisha came to Tibet, there were basically no spiritual teachers at all. Were there any at that time? It's unclear whether he received teachings from Lotsawa Rinchen Zangpo. Geshe Dromtunpa also said to rely on teacher day and night. In the Abhisamailamkara, this is called outer reliance and inner reliance. Inner reliance refers to depending on your own inner qualities like compassion, wisdom, and understanding. Outer reliance generally refers to spiritual teachers. Everyone needs the causes and conditions of both outer and inner reliance. If you have this then your personal growth will be quite good. So some of us have never relied on a teacher before. The longer you rely on a teacher, the better it is. In our exam prep class, some have already been here for more than 10 years. And I feel, even though some may not have taken many exams, I still think that being together with such good Dharma friends every day, their own behavior will gradually and progressively become more stable, eventually becomes independent. It's like a tree. If you really don't support it properly at the beginning, there's a good chance it will wither early. But if the tall, sturdy tree grows strong and healthy, once it has become robust, it can stand on its own. It's the same for study, contemplation, and practice. Especially for beginners, at the very beginning, if you don't have the support of a good teacher, maybe soon your own opinion or your understanding and insights may quickly be diverted or obscured by societal influences. So by genuinely relying on virtuous friends is like having a cane, you know. A cane helps make it much easier for people who need support to go anywhere. In fact, good friends and good teachers are the best kind of support you can have. Let's stop here for today.
Bandara Badma Sodargye